All right, I'm off. I'll be back on the 31st. Make sure to finish year-end cleaning by then. Today, my husband heads out for a 3-night, 4-day affair trip to South. I realized 3 months ago that my husband was having an affair with my best friend. Got it. I'll make sure everything's clean so we can start the new year with clean slate. I've always forgiven my husband for relying on me for household chores and finances since we got married, thinking, he's young, it's okay. But I'm no saint. Once I knew about the betrayal and couldn't trust him anymore, my love dried up instantly. Take care. I'll bring back some souvenirs. I smiled brightly as I saw him off, and the moment the door closed, I called my brother. Since he'll be gone for 4 days, I started preparing to throw away my marriage life along with my husband's belongings while doing the big cleanup. The New Year's plan starts on New Year's Day, as they say. I'll do my best to ensure that my husband and best friend's start of the year is the best it can be. My name is Yvonne, I got married at 26, and I'm about to celebrate my second New Year. I met my husband, who is 2 years younger than me, and Alex at work. My husband joined the department at the company where I work as a new grad. He was a handsome guy with soft features and smooth skin that even I, as a woman, admired. He was bright and innocent, well liked by both male and female colleagues. Our company has a 3-month training period where new employees learn on the job with a mentor. My husband's mentor, Ian, was strict with both others and himself. I often saw my husband getting scolded and feeling down. Good job today. Are you getting used to it? Ian is strict, but he's good at his job, so if you trust and follow him, you'll definitely grow. Yes. I feel embarrassed of my inability, and I regret it every day. Everyone feels that way at first. Keep it up. I sat next to him and was asked by Ian to support my husband daily. He was slow to learn, but once he got it, I could rely on him completely. Ian said you've been growing a lot recently. Here, this is a reward. Oh. Chocolate? Looking at a few pieces of chocolate in his palm, my husband smiled. Yeah. It's good with coffee. Chocolate is great for a tired brain. Thank you so much. I'm always saved by you, Hashimoto. After the training ends, please let me treat you to a meal. His cute neutral smile was like an angel's. As the eldest of 3 siblings and someone who grew up being reliable, I never considered younger men as romantic prospects. But that innocent smile unexpectedly made my heart flutter. I had thought his invitation was just polite talk, but a month after the training ended, it became reality, and half a year later, he confessed to me, and we started dating. Yvonne, you're a dependable woman, but sometimes you seem a bit vulnerable, and I just want to protect you. I've never been told that before. Being serious and inexperienced in love, maybe I felt a bit more comfortable because he was younger. When we were alone, he would openly show his affection, and all I had to do was accept it. I really feel at ease when Yvonne is with me. Even when he stayed over, I would sleep holding him close. The way he would entwine his arms around me or ask to be held in my arms, the roles seemed reversed, and I found it refreshingly adorable. But what's amazing about him is not just how affectionate he is, but also how he knows how to pamper me, with my eldest sibling mentality. Good morning. I tried making a breakfast like what you'd get at a cafe this morning. Good morning. Wow. It really is like a cafe breakfast. Would you like coffee or tea, princess? Occasionally treating me like a princess always made my heart skip a beat. When I was feeling down about a mistake at work, he would casually take me for a drive to the beach on the weekend, listening to my complaints while driving. Then, while watching the sea, he would pat my head and pull me close, like he would comfort a small child. It might be said he's experienced with women, but for someone like me who didn't know how to be affectionate, he taught me the joy of being a woman. And a year later, he proposed, and we got married. With that, I moved to the second building, a station away from the main office. Because I wanted to continue working after marriage, and I was happy he supported that. But it was a bit later that I realized that this reason was a manifestation of his hidden true nature. Even after marriage, he remained kind, but his way of showing affection changed a bit. Like I was being gently rolled in the palm of his hand. Yvonne, you're such a good wife. You're tidy and a great cook. I'm really happy I married you. Thank you for everything. Yeah. I'm happy too. It's not just that he's good at showing affection, he really understands me. Maybe it was because I couldn't let go of my stance as the older one. Even though we both worked, I realized that all the household chores had become my job. My husband would put his dirty clothes in the laundry basket and his dishes in the sink, and he didn't mess up the room. So, it wasn't too stressful, but he never took the initiative to do chores. The only exception was on weekends we spent together. He would make breakfast and say, "Sorry, I always end up relying on Yvonne when I get home. I can only relax in front of you," as he smiled and poured me fresh coffee. With gestures like these, even if I sometimes thought, why do I have to do everything? I ended up forgiving him. It's like after we got married, my husband had become like a well-behaved son. If this was all calculated, he'd be quite the strategist. Another thing that made me feel like I was falling into my husband's trap was the household finances. Instead of splitting everything 50/50ths, I ended up paying more like 70/30ths. This was partly because we started our married life by moving my husband into the apartment I was living in, and I had often paid for things as his senior before we started dating. The rent and utilities will be deducted from Yvonne's account, so I'll cover the groceries and other monthly expenses. Until we find a new place and move, that's okay, right? Okay. But we'll continue to pay our own insurance and phone bills as before, right? Of course. My two-bedroom apartment was close to our company and reasonably sized. Even though we were both working, the utilities hadn't gone up much, but something didn't quite sit right with me. But I believed and turned a blind eye thinking, this is only until we have kids or until we move to a new place. Looking back, I might have been enabling my husband's dependency. The increase in household chores made me feel the reality of being married, but it seemed like my husband's life hadn't changed much from when he was single. My husband, who has many friends, would go out drinking after work or go out on weekends. After paying his share of the household expenses, he would spend all his remaining money on hobbies and fun, with no savings at all. His family lived about an hour away by plane, and we needed to save for visits home. 3 months into our marriage, feeling anxious, I suggested to my husband, "Hey, considering our future moves and having kids, let's start saving together." "Well, I kind of remain living like this for now, but if you thinks we should, then let's do it." I end up spending everything if left to my own devices. Great. How about $600 each per month? $600, huh? Well, can't help it. Okay. I was worried he might be reluctant, but I was relieved my husband agreed to save. I thought it was impossible to handle the future savings for both of us on my own. Despite some complaints about my husband, he would reserve one day of the weekend for me and invite me out for meals or trips on anniversaries. We were getting along pretty well. One day, I got a call from my best friend Mary, who had attended our wedding. Mary got married right after graduating from college and became a stay-at-home mom, so we hadn't been in touch much for the last few years. "Thanks for inviting me to your wedding. It's been a while, can we meet up sometime? We didn't get to talk much at the ceremony." "Yeah, I'd love to see you too. But Mary, can you make it out? Isn't Anna only 4 years old?" "It's fine. I'll have my parents watch her for a day." "Oh. And my mom says congratulations. She was really happy about your marriage, Yvonne." Mary was a co-worker from our college days, a year younger than me, but we hit it off from the first time we met. At one point, we were inseparable, visiting each other's homes and getting to know each other's parents. "Ah. Sorry, I need to bathe Anna soon. It's a good day for me though." We decided to meet the following Saturday and hung up. I was so happy to have a chance to talk with Mary after such a long time. Today, I got in touch with my best friend Mary who came to our wedding. I'm going to meet her next week. "Oh. Mary, who is that again?" "Remember, the one who got married right after college. We talked about how she still looks cute even as a mom." "Really? Sorry, I don't remember much. Have fun though." On our wedding day, my husband was like, "Is she really a mom?" and it seemed like we had a good time talking about it. But, it's probably hard to remember everyone when you meet so many friends and acquaintances at once. At this moment, I couldn't see through the lie my husband told. The next week, when I arrived at the cafe where we agreed to meet, Mary was there waiting, looking slim as ever with her wavy hair looking cute. The only change was that she was wearing flats. It felt like turning back time, and we rejoiced at our reunion, screaming and grabbing each other's hands. "Yvonne's husband is such a cutie. What do you call him? Probably just Alex? He's younger and so cute, but I just call him Alex. Mary was eager to hear about my husband, so we indulged in bragging about how cute my husband is, which we usually couldn't do, and had a blast. It felt nostalgic, passionately talking about our faves like we used to in our student days. Mary seemed to be happily living in her newly built home. Don't let your guard down just because you're married, Yvonne. Make sure you keep a tight grip on Alex. Otherwise, someone might snatch him away. Right, he's such a cutie, I'll be careful. We joked around until we parted, and I had the best day. This was the first time I could honestly brag about my husband to someone else. I truly thought that once we had kids, I'd want our families to hang out together. I never imagined someone would actually try to take my husband away. 2 years into our marriage, on a particular Sunday, I was having lunch at a fancy hotel restaurant with 4 girlfriends. A friend who works overseas was back in town, so we gathered for the first time in a while. The restaurant, located on a high floor, was so popular you couldn't get in without a reservation on weekends. After we finished eating and were talking about moving to a nearby cafe because we still had so much to chat about, that's when I saw him. My husband, his arm around a woman's shoulder, looking like a couple in love. Why? Next to my husband stood Mary, slim as ever, looking great in a light beige dress and her wavy hair. I felt the blood drain from my face. Even if they met by chance, you can't get into this place without a reservation. I lied to my friends, saying I suddenly felt ill, and left alone. The image of those two stuck with me even after I got home. My husband had said he was going to a day spa with college buddies. The thought that it was definitely an affair echoed in my head, but I couldn't bring myself to believe it. Could I have been mistaken? My husband was supposed to have forgotten Mary. But then, I heard Alex from the direction where the two of them were walking closely. I recognized that name. That night, when my husband came home, he smelled of nice soap. But I knew it wasn't from the spa. Man, I'm beat from the trip and the hot spring. Gonna head to bed early tonight. He had no idea I was onto him. As I watched a movie alone in the living room, he hugged me from behind and kissed my cheek, saying, "Good night." I shivered. If it had been the day before, I might have felt loved by that gesture. But thinking with the hands that held Mary, I just couldn't anymore. I waited for my husband to start snoring, then I took my smartphone out of the bedroom. If it hadn't changed, the password would be our wedding anniversary. It opened. Checking the message exchanges, it was worse than I expected. They had been in contact since our wedding day. At the venue, Mary had secretly passed him a note with her contact information. "Alex, it's been a while. You've become more handsome than I imagined. I never thought you'd become Yvonne's husband." I was surprised too. "Mary, you've become prettier than before. I had no idea you were Yvonne's best friend. Hey, how about we meet up, just the two of us, after such a long time?" Yes, they were ex-girlfriend and ex-boyfriend. I had heard about it from Mary. "There's this beautiful boy in this year's freshman, and even though he's a year younger, we started dating." That was Alex. But, as far as I remembered, their relationship didn't last more than half a year. As I followed the messages, it appeared they had been meeting up 2 to 3 times a month for the past 2 years. The realization that I had been betrayed all this time brought tears to my eyes. I thought I was happy, I thought we were doing well, but it seems I was the only one who thought so. Oh, no. The betrayal by my husband shattered my heart. Realizing how much I loved him made my chest hurt. I curled up on the floor, sobbing quietly. After a good cry, my mind started to regain some composure. Was I really the only one who thought we were happy? By marrying an older woman who would do anything he said, perhaps it was my husband who actually secured a comfortable and happy life. If we both thought we were happy, was it a win-win situation? That can't be right, give me a break, I muttered to myself and decided to take revenge on my husband and best friend. They had planned a trip together 3 months later, and I decided to bring their downfall at that time. It was clear how much I was being underestimated. Their plan for 3 months later was a 4-day trip to South at the end of December. The next day, I left work early and visited a private detective agency I had researched. I wanted to gather conclusive evidence within these 3 months. I asked them to investigate, focusing on the weekends he didn't spend with me. The agency told me to act normally around my husband until the results came out, which was a kind of hell in its own way. Every touch reminded me of his relationship with Mary, sending shivers down my spine. Disgusting. Even when he smiled sweetly, tilting his head cutely, I felt nothing. It was as if a filter had been removed, and all I felt was disgust. About a month later, the agency contacted me. They had taken a large number of photos that served as definitive evidence of their affair. Since reuniting with my husband, Mary had been pretending to go to her part-time job on weekends after leaving her daughter with her parents. Surprisingly, most of the expenses for their dates were covered by Mary. This was the same Mary who had always been good at being spoiled, claiming, "It's common sense for the man to pay." And there were photos of her giving him an allowance at the end of their dates, which somehow fully woke me up. With the investigation results in hand, I went to my parents' house. I planned to tell them everything, but my younger brother Kate was there too, so I involved him as well. I shared the whole situation, my desire to divorce my husband, and my plans for revenge. Showing them the evidence photos, my father's face turned red with anger. "Get a divorce and come back home right now." My father was shaking with fury, ready to confront my husband, so the three of us desperately stopped him. "Dad, let's go with my sister's plan. It's more peaceful than a fight, and revenge sounds fun. I'll help too." He was probably trying to lighten the mood. My college student brother's casual words felt like a rescue. As I shared my plan for revenge, the three of us got more excited about it. "Oh. Then, let's invite Sally for a fun family trip. I'll call her." In the end, we also invited my sister Sally, and a fun family trip for the end of the year was arranged. Somehow, I started looking forward to the end of the year. In December, my husband told me, "I'm going on a trip with my college buddies at the end of the year." "What? During the holidays?" "Yeah, one of them is having a small wedding ceremony." We decided to join in and make a trip out of it, all at our own expense. While I was impressed by his clever excuse, I tried to stop him. "Really, do you have to go? It's the end of the year. Who's more important to you, me or your friend?" I tried to sound a bit mean, but my husband seemed not to notice. Instead, he looked surprised, as I rarely make a fuss. "Oh. Sorry. You're more important to me, but attending a friend's wedding isn't something that happens often. Please forgive me." He's willing to beg just to go on this affair trip with Mary. Somewhere deep down, I had been hoping that during these 3 months, my husband would stop his affair with Mary. Maybe I wanted to steer my feelings toward not divorcing. But now, any doubts had disappeared. December 28th, the day of the trip. Today, my husband leaves for a 3-night, 4-day affair trip to a southern country. How many times I wanted to kick him as he happily prepared the night before. "Well, I'm off. I'll be back on the 31st. Sorry, but please finish year-end cleaning." "Got it. I'll make sure everything's clean so we can start the new year off right." I've always forgiven my husband for relying on me for household chores and finances since we got married, thinking, he's young, it's okay. But I'm no saint. Once I knew about the betrayal and couldn't trust him anymore, my love dried up instantly. "Take care. I'll bring back some souvenirs." I smiled brightly as I saw him off, feeling annoyed as he hugged me one last time. The moment the door closed, I called my brother Ken. "Hey, Ken? He's gone now, so any time is good. I'm going to move out. Since he'll be gone for 4 days. I decided to throw away our marital life along with my husband's belongings while doing the big cleanup. The New Year's plan starts on New Year's Day, as they say. I'll do my best to ensure that my husband and best friend's start of the year is the best it can be. Then, our family helped move my belongings to the new place we had arranged. Since it was originally my apartment, the only things we had replaced when we got married were the bed and the fridge. I decided to get rid of them since I didn't want to see them anymore. My husband's belongings were mostly clothes and hobby items. I disposed of the gifts I had given him, and for the rest, since I didn't have any boxes or large bags, I put them in trash bags for burnable trash. In the middle of the now empty room, devoid of my husband's belongings, I left a filled-out divorce paper, the rings, and a photo of him and Mary sharing a passionate kiss. Well, what's next? After the move, I made a few calls. Caught up in the whirlwind of moving, we went out as a family to a barbecue restaurant, indulging in plenty of meat and alcohol. My husband sent a photo of a beautiful villa with a "We've arrived" message, but I ignored it. December 29th. I visited Mary's parents' house. It's been about 5 years since I last visited, back when we were students. Yvonne, long time no see. I heard you got married. I even invited Mary's husband, Tom. What's going on? Urged by her aunt, I went to the living room, where Mary's uncle and her husband, Tom, were chatting on the sofa. Their daughter, Anna, seemed to be napping in the next room on a futon. Despite the peaceful family scene, I felt guilty. Mary has been having an affair with my husband. Were you aware of this? They are currently on a trip together.
That's a lie. No.
In front of Mary's astonished family, I laid out the evidence of the affair and explained everything. When I showed them the screenshots of their email conversations, Tom's face turned grim. So that's what was happening. I thought it was strange she suddenly started taking extra shifts on weekends. She told me she was going back to her parents today to help with the year-end cleaning. Mary has also been giving my husband an allowance. If you're considering divorce, Tom, I have these photos as evidence.
Thank you. I won't forgive them for abandoning Anna and having an affair.
Tom's voice trembled with anger. Mary's uncle and aunt began to prostrate themselves in tears before Tom and me. I was relieved Anna hadn't woken up. I talked about divorcing my husband and leaving him homeless. I think I want to do the same. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, please support us too. Tom and I exchanged contact information and I left Mary's parents' house. The extent to which an affair can hurt those around them. Thinking about the two of them enjoying their trip made my blood boil. December 30th. The day before his return. Tomorrow, we are set to go on a family trip. Everything from the inn to the flights has been booked for 3 months. During the move, I happened to check our joint savings account and saw that half of the saved amount had been withdrawn. Nearly 2 years had passed, and the savings account had accumulated over $20,000. Taking half means the rest is mine, right? I was disappointed, but this allowed me to use the remaining amount without any reservations. Hello, is this my mother-in-law? It's Yvonne. I'm planning to spend New Year's with my family at a tourist spot in my husband's hometown. We're thinking of going to a hot spring in there from tomorrow. I have something I want to discuss in person, so would it be alright if I stopped by for a bit during the New Year's holiday? Oh. Alex hasn't mentioned anything. Are you two coming? No, I'll be with my family. There's something I need to discuss about Alex. Sensing something ominous, my mother-in-law simply answered, understood. Then, I'll visit in the evening. Have a happy new year. With that, almost everything was prepared. As a final touch, I sent a photo to my husband via email that night, showing the back of a man and a woman. Though it was just their backs, the side profiles were unmistakably my husband and Mary. Tomorrow, we leave on an early flight, so I decided to go to bed early. December 31st, New Year's Eve, the day of his return. When I woke up the next morning, my phone was flooded with messages and missed calls. Not wanting to deal with the hassle of read receipts, I ignored them and headed to the airport with my family of 5. He probably noticed the photo of the two I sent before sleeping. On the plane, I switched to airplane mode and saw messages like "What's this?" You're not misunderstanding something because of a photo, right? We just happened to talk when we met in town the other day. Let me explain when I get back. Clearly panicking because I hadn't replied, his messages seemed desperate. Today, we plan to enjoy the local tourist spots until it's time to check into the inn. The excitement of going on a trip with the entire family for the first time since becoming adults was palpable.
It's the first time we're traveling as a family since we've grown up. Disappointed in my brother-in-law, but I guess I'm a bit thankful. Yeah, seriously. Don't lose tomorrow, sis.
After checking into the inn and taking a bath, I turned off airplane mode, and immediately my husband called. Winter evenings come quickly, it was already dark. Maybe he's made it back home by now? Hello? Yvonne? Thank goodness. I got through. Where are you? The house is dark and everything's gone. Welcome back.
Did you enjoy your trip with Mary? No, it's not like that. Let me explain. I went to your parents' house and nobody was there. I was worried.
It seems my husband had even gone to my parents' house. I'm glad we all went on this trip. Did you see the room? It's all cleaned up. You should leave soon too. I've already contacted them about the cancellation.
You're kidding. What am I supposed to do now? It's New Year's Eve. And I haven't saved up for moving expenses.
I couldn't help but laugh at my husband's voice filled with despair. There's still the built-in lighting, so the lights will work, but there's no air conditioning. And since I disposed of the futon, spending New Year's Eve in that room will be tough.
Don't worry. Mary is probably being kicked out of her house right about now too, so you two can spend New Year's together.
Don't be so down. I've booked a flight for tomorrow, so you can spend New Year's at your parents' house. What? He was clearly shocked by the unexpected news. It made me feel almost like the mastermind behind a prank. Make sure you fill out the divorce papers I left in the room and bring them with you. We'll talk about the rest at your parents' house. I'll be waiting. Have a good year. Wait, my parents' house. I cut off the call after saying my piece and sent him the airline booking site and reservation number. Shortly after, a sobbing Mary called me.
Hey! Why did you tell my husband? I can't get into my house. It's New Year's Eve. There's no way any hotels are available.
The price of an affair is high, isn't it? Seems like a fitting punishment. Alex seems to be free too, so why don't you spend it together?
No. Yvonne, I'm sorry. Please, talk to your mom for me. I can't even get into my own house.
Mary's voice was filled with the same kind of despair as my husband's, which was amusing. Tom had already changed the locks and had gone back to his parents the day before. I decided to ask Mary something I had been curious about. So, did the one that got away seem bigger? Or did you just want to laugh at me behind my back?
What? No. It was just a fling. He was originally my boyfriend, so if anyone snatched him, it was you. I never intended to wreck a home.
Mary's self-centered and incomprehensible response infuriated me.
Don't mess with me. You wreck someone's home and think you can get away with it? I'll be demanding compensation, so make sure you're ready to pay up. You're lying. Yvonne. We were. Just so you know, we're not friends or anything anymore.
Mary seemed to start shouting something, but I had said what I wanted to. I decided to leave the rest to a lawyer and blocked her number. I wondered how the two of them would spend their New Year's Eve. But soon got lost in the lavish meal and delicious drinks, forgetting all about them. We all thoroughly enjoyed spending the end of the year and the start of the new one at a traditional inn for the first time in our lives. January 1st, New Year's Day. The final showdown. I went to the open-air bath from the morning and prayed to the already risen sun. According to a line message from my husband, he and Mary spent New Year's Eve hopping from one open bar to another and killed time at a fast food restaurant in the early hours. The only thought that came to my mind was, serves you right. We decided to visit a famous local shrine for the first shrine visit of the new year, then head to my husband's parents' house. My brother and sister planned to go shopping for souvenirs at the mall. Big sis, make sure you get your revenge. If you win, we'll celebrate your victory. I showed them my fist in solidarity. Upon arriving at my in-laws' house, we were greeted by several relatives who had come to visit. Happy New Year! Sorry for barging in with so many people so early in the year. Not at all. Happy New Year to you too. Please, come in. Although my in-laws were curious about the situation, we couldn't proceed without the main character. We chatted over tea prepared by my mother-in-law until the relatives left. And that's when my husband arrived.
What? Dad, what's going on?
Seeing our parents seated in the living room, my husband was amusingly taken aback. Welcome back. Did you bring the divorce papers? Both my husband and my in-laws looked at me in shock. To move the conversation along smoothly, I laid out the evidence of the affair and the hot photos of him and Mary on the table. Then, I bowed to my in-laws. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry, but we are getting a divorce. The shock of being declared divorced by the parents seemed to hit hard. So, I decided to give him a chance to explain kindly. This man left me to do the New Year cleaning while he went on an affair trip abroad with my best friend. Was it fun?
It's not like that. Mary is an ex-girlfriend. I was just nostalgic. It was all just for fun.
Best friend. My mother-in-law covered her mouth with both hands. My parents' cold stares pierced my husband. So, it was all just for fun. There's a small child involved, you know? You wanted to play even if it meant destroying both of your families? Even if it meant dipping into our savings? Did he think I hadn't noticed the misuse of money? Or had he forgotten that Mary had a child? My husband fell silent, words failing him, and my emotions exploded.
You left all the housework and finances to me, even touched the joint savings. Did you think I would forgive anything? I'm not your convenient duck, nor your maid, nor your slave. Idiot.
All the frustrations I had been bottling up came out in a scream. My husband quickly assumed a prostrate position.
I'm sorry. I took advantage of Yvonne being older and kind. I'll make it right from now on, and I'll pay back the money I used, so.
A dull thud reached my excited ears.
What the hell are you doing? You idiot.
My father-in-law, who had been silent until then, stood up and started hitting my husband. My husband's pale cheek quickly reddened. After being hit 2 or 3 times by my father-in-law, my husband lay on the floor, groaning. My father and mother-in-law had to pull away the still furious father-in-law and make him sit down. To my husband, who was crying with a nosebleed, I said,
"Look carefully at how much you've hurt those around you for your own desires."
My father-in-law and father were shaking with rage. And my mother-in-law, mother, and I were in tears. Seeing this, my husband began to sob uncontrollably. "Please write and send the divorce papers. I'll be filing for compensation. Don't worry about returning the joint savings money. I used the other half for this family trip. So, there will be no division of property," I said, standing up and lowered my gaze to my in-laws. My mother-in-law hugged me and promised, "We'll make sure he pays the compensation." My husband, still crying, looked up at me.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I never wanted things to end up like this. I don't want to divorce you, Yvonne. I don't want that.
My father took me by the shoulder and we headed for the door. I felt like my long battle that started at the end of the year was finally over. Later, through a lawyer introduced by my father, we divorced. I demanded $60,000 in compensation from my husband and $40,000 from Mary. Since I had informed my company's supervisor about the divorce at the end of the year, rumors started circulating around the office right after the holiday break. Unable to bear being looked at with disdain, my husband left the company as if fleeing, 2 months later. Mentally exhausted, the last time I saw him, his once silky soft hair seemed to have thinned a bit. Right after the divorce, my husband sent me creepy messages like "I want to be hugged and sleep by Yvonne" and "I can't forget the breakfast scenes with just the 2 of us," so I immediately blocked him. It turned out, Mary was discovered to have been using household money for her affair with my husband, leading to her divorce. Likely because she dipped into the savings meant for Anna, she angered Tom to no end. Unable to gain custody of Anna and not allowed to return to her parents' house, Mary was left with nowhere to go. Tom also made sure to demand compensation from both Mary and my husband. After the divorce, Mary reportedly begged Tom for reconciliation numerous times, but to no avail. The 2 of them, having lost their homes, somehow ended up getting back together and living with each other. After all, they were 2 of a kind.
Tom used to do the laundry. If I hadn't met you, I would have been happy. My life with Yvonne was happy every day. If only you hadn't seduced me.
Both wanting everything done for them and being naturally dependent, their mutual dissatisfaction exploded. However, since both are in debt and can't leave, they seem to be living together, constantly fighting. I've gotten used to my new apartment life and am spending my days feeling refreshed. Winning the battle against my husband at the start of the year seems to have positively impacted my work as well. Since then, my family's relationship has improved even more, often saying, "Let's go on a trip somewhere again."
Next year, I'm thinking about planning to spend the end-of-year holidays abroad.